Hi guys, so I welcome you all to today's lecture under the fast track series for RBI Grade B 2018, which has been brought to you guys by EduTap. Before proceeding forward, let us briefly look at what this series entails for you guys. So in this particular series, we are going to attain a comprehensive coverage of current affairs from the month of May 2018 to 15th August 2018, that is before your examination. And again, in this particular series, we are going to alternatively cover topics of ESI, that is economic and social issues, and finance and management, which will be covered through important problems under multiple choice questions or MCQs. Now, we have been working in this direction for the past few years, and we have been blessed with some of the very amazing results in the past few years. Now in RBI Grade B 2017 results, 124 of our students, they reached the interview stage, and 27 of the students, they made it to the final list. Now apart from the different other courses which we are running, we are offering these courses for RBI Grade B 2018 examination. So these are the different courses which you guys can choose from. So there is a wide range of courses and you can choose according to your requirement. Now in case you need to know more, you have any query, you can always visit our website, which is www.edutap.co.in, or you can drop us a mail at deepak@edutap.co.in, or you can call us at 8146-207-241. Now in this video, we are going to cover some of the very important MCQs based on the Union Budget 2018-19. Now before jumping on to the MCQs directly, let us briefly look at the conceptual framework with regard to the budgeting in India. Now budget is simply a spending plan. It is the process of creating a plan to spend your money. Now Article 112 of the Indian Constitution, it talks about laying of the annual financial statement before both the houses of the parliament, which is going to project the estimated receipts and expenditure of the government for that particular year. So the Indian Constitution refers to the Union Budget as the annual financial statement. Now this Union Budget, it provides the picture with regard to the government receipts and expenditure for 3 consecutive years. Actual figures are presented for the preceding year, and for the current year, budget estimates and revised estimates are presented, and for the coming year, budget estimates are presented. Now if we talk about the budget as a whole is divided into revenue budget and capital budget. Revenue budget, it covers revenue receipts and revenue expenditure of the government. Revenue receipts and revenue expenditure are those which are not related with creation of any capital assets or reduction of any capital asset. For example, in revenue receipts, we have tax receipts like receipts from income tax, receipts from corporate tax, receipts from GST. And in the non-tax revenue, we have receipts from the interest which the government is earning. We have receipts from the dividends which the government is earning. And in the revenue expenditure, these are those expenditures which are not creating any productive assets, and they are those expenditure, for example, salary which is given to the staff, and similar expenditure which is done by the government. And on the capital side, we have capital receipts, and these are the receipts which create a liability or reduce any asset. For example, if you disinvest your money in the public sector undertakings, then this reduces the assets of the government, and this will be a capital receipt. And similarly, if you obtain a loan, then again this is going to be a capital receipt. And in case of a capital expenditure, they result in creation of a productive asset or they reduce any liability. For example, if you have spent money on building infrastructure, etc., then this is going to be your capital expenditure. So here, this is the budget snapshot. There are the key numbers from the Union Budget 2018-19. So here you can see the actual figures of 2016-17. The estimates, the budget estimates and the revised estimates of 2017-18, and the budget estimates which have been presented for the upcoming year, that is 2018-19. So here you can see the revenue receipts of the government, they are gradually increasing. The capital receipts of the government, they are also gradually increasing, and same will be the case for total receipts, and same will be for the total expenditure. Now there are 3 very important deficits, or I should say 4 very important deficits: revenue deficit, effective revenue deficit, fiscal deficit, and primary deficit. So these are very important terms associated with the Union Budget. This revenue deficit, it covers the difference between the revenue receipts and the revenue expenditure of the government. In effective revenue deficit, we do some adjustment for the money which is there under the revenue expenditure, but it is for it is a kind of a capital grant for creation of any capital asset as a part of any schemes, etc. of the government. So this is not effectively any revenue expenditure, this is creating any capital asset. So we have reduced this one to compute the effective revenue deficit. And next is the fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit is the budget deficit. This will be the deficit, this will be the amount which the government has to borrow to meet the deficit in the union budget. And next is the primary deficit. In primary deficit, we nullify the impact of borrowings, we nullify the impact of the interest rates which are there under the revenue expenditure, and we nullify the effect of any borrowings which the government has done to meet its fiscal deficit, and we compute this primary deficit. So now let's move to the first question. On the lines of Operation Flood, a new scheme, Operation Greens, was announced in Union Budget 2018-19. To address the challenge of price volatility of perishable commodities. The outlay of the scheme has been kept at, options are 100 crores, 500 crores, 5,000 crores, 10,000 crores, or none of the above. So this question is about the Operation Greens, which was announced in the Union Budget 2018-19, and a specific sum of money was devoted for this purpose, and we are being asked what is this sum of money. Now, for answering this question, we must be aware about this Operation Greens. Now, this was announced under the Union Budget on the lines of Operation Flood, and the objective of this operation was to address the price volatility of perishable commodities like tomato, onion, and potato with the satisfaction of both the farmers and the consumers. So both the farmers and the consumers are going to be benefited if this price volatility is checked. The farmers will get a proper price for their products, and the consumer will also be paying the actual price or the optimum price for the essential vegetables which they must buy. Now, outlay for this Operation Greens has been kept at rupees 500 crores under the Union Budget 2018-19, which we must remember. Now let us also briefly look at the other important agricultural initiatives which have been announced in the Union Budget 2018-19, because the question may be framed out of these initiatives. It has been decided to keep MSP, that is the minimum support price, for all unannounced kharif crops at least 1.5 times of their production cost, after declaring the same for majority of rabi crops. So here this is the keyword, that MSP will be kept at 1.5 times of their production cost. So this has to be remembered. The volume of the institutional credit for agriculture sector is proposed to be raised to rupees 11 lakh crore for the year 2018-19. So this is another very important figure for you guys, that the proposed institutional credit target with regard to agriculture sector is rupees 11 lakh crores. Also, it is proposed to set up a fisheries and aquaculture infrastructure development fund for fisheries sector, and an animal husbandry infrastructure development fund for financing infrastructure requirement of animal husbandry sector, and the total corpus of these two funds is rupees 10,000 crores. So these two funds are going to be established for fisheries and animal husbandry sector. Now also, bamboo has been termed as a green gold under the Union Budget, and Finance Minister has announced a restructured national bamboo mission, and for this outlay has been kept at rupees 1290 crores to promote this bamboo sector in a holistic manner. So it can be asked which of the following has been termed as the green gold under the Union Budget. So we have to remember that bamboo has been termed so. Also, there is a proposal to extend the facility of Kisan credit cards to fisheries and animal husbandry farmers to help them meet their working capital needs. So it has also been felt that the ambit of the Kisan credit card should be announced and should not be restricted to the agricultural farmers and laborers. It should be expanded to cover fisheries and animal husbandry farmers also. Also, a special scheme has been announced which is going to support the efforts of the governments of Haryana, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh and the Delhi, and the focus of this efforts would be to address the air pollution by subsidizing machinery which is required for in situ management of crop residue. So you guys must have read in the newspapers that this was one of the burning issues in these areas, that the crop residue or the stubble burning, this is being burnt and this is causing huge amount of pollution in the National Capital Territory of Delhi as well as the adjoining areas. So to tackle this area of concern, the government has decided to support the schemes of the governments of these 4 states, and we are going to subsidize the machinery which is required for managing the crop residue within the farm itself. So now we can easily answer this question, that the Operation Greens has been announced with the outlay of rupees 500 crores. So answer to this is going to be option number B. Now let's move to the next question. Which of the following is incorrect regarding provisions for SCs, that is scheduled castes, and STs, that is scheduled tribes, under the Union Budget 2018-19? Options are: the allocation towards SCs and STs has increased as compared to the previous year. Higher amount has been allocated towards SCs as compared to STs. Eklavya model residential schools have been proposed to be set up for SCs. All are correct, none of the above is correct. Now to answer this question, we must be aware about the initiatives which have been announced in the Union Budget with regard to vulnerable sections, especially SCs and STs. So the target of providing free LPG connection under the Prime Minister's Ujjwala scheme has been increased to 8 crore poor women. So this is the scheme, Ujjwala scheme of the Prime Minister, which is there for providing free LPG connection to poor women, and the target under this scheme has been enhanced. Allocation has been increased to rupees 56,619 crores for SCs and rupees 39,135 crores for STs. So allocation for both SCs and STs has been increased, and more amount is allocated for SCs as compared to STs. Eklavya model residential schools are to be set up to provide the best quality education to the tribal children. So this is very important, that Eklavya model residential school, they are to be set up to provide education to tribal children. So tribal is the key word here, so we have to remember these are for STs. All the 16 crores accounts under the Prime Minister Jan Dhan Yojana are going to be included under the micro insurance and pension schemes. So social security cover is going to be enhanced for the accounts covered under the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. Government plans to construct 2 crore more toilets under Swachh Bharat mission, and the government has already constructed more than 6 crore toilets. So this is about the gradual progress we are making under the Swachh Bharat mission. Also, the increase in the limit has been announced for the investment to rupees 15 lakh under Pradhan Mantri via Vandana Yojana. So this is the scheme which is there for the senior citizens, and investment limit under this scheme has been increased to rupees 15 lakh. So now we can answer this question. In this question we are being asked about the provisions for SCs and STs. So in the option number C, you can see that it has been mentioned that Eklavya model residential schools have been proposed to be set up for SCs, which is incorrect because these are the schools which are going to be set up for STs or tribal children. So here option number C would be the correct answer. Now let's move to the next question. Which of the following is incorrect regarding Grameen agriculture markets? Options are: under Union Budget 2018-19, it is proposed to develop and upgrade existing 22,000 rural hearts into Grameen agriculture markets. They will be electronically linked to ENAM or the National Agriculture Market. They will be exempted from the regulations of the APMCs or the Agriculture Produce Marketing Committees. They will provide farmers the facility to make direct sale to consumers and bulk purchasers. Option number E, none of the above is incorrect. So here we are being asked about the Grameen agriculture markets which are being talked about under the Union Budget 2018-19. Now the Union Budget 2018-19, it seeks to develop and upgrade existing 22,000 rural hearts into Grameen agriculture markets or GRAMs. So this we have to remember, that GRAMs is the Grameen agriculture markets, and adequate focus is there under the Union Budget 2018-19 to develop these GRAMs. These GRAMs will take care of the interests of more than 86% small and marginal farmers. So these Grameen agriculture markets are going to cater to the needs of small and marginal farmers. They will provide the farmers the facility to make direct sales to consumers and bulk purchasers. And for this purpose, they are going to be electronically linked to ENAM, which is the National Agriculture Market Network. and they are going to be exempted from the regulations of APMCs so that they can function efficiently without any interference. Also, an agri market infrastructure fund with a corpus of rupees 2000 crores has been proposed to be set up under the union budget, and this fund is going to be used for developing and upgrading the existing agriculture marketing infrastructure into 22,000 Grameen agriculture markets and 585 APMCs. So key facts which we have to take from this slide, they are that 22,000 rural hearts are to be converted into grams, and they are going to be catering to the needs of small and marginal farmers with electronic linkages to ENAM and exemptions from APMCs. So now we can easily answer this question that with regard to gram, that is Grameen agriculture markets, all of these are correct. So the answer to this question is going to be none of the above is incorrect. That is option number E. So now let's move to the next question. Under the Union Budget 2018-19, Prime Minister Research Fellowship Scheme has been announced with the objective of, options are, providing research facilities to foreign dignitaries seeking to do research in India, providing handsome fellowship to select BTech students identified from premier institutions and provide them facilities to do PhD in IITs and ISE, granting special leaves to select government employees wishing to pursue PhD in India, granting scholarships to those women scientists with break in their career due to family obligations, or none of the above. So under the Union Budget 2018-19, this Prime Minister Research Fellowship Scheme has been announced, and this question has been framed on the same. Now to answer this question, we must be aware about this Prime Minister Research Fellowship Scheme. This has been announced under the Union Budget 2018-19, and the key aspect, the most key objective of this scheme is 1,000 best BTech students have to be identified each year from premier institutions, and they have to be provided the facilities to do PhD in IITs and IASC, that is Indian Institute of Sciences, with a handsome fellowship. So this scheme is for target group of BTech students. So 1,000 best BTech students are to be provided the opportunities to do PhD in IITs and IASC. So this we have to remember, that Prime Minister Research Fellowship Scheme is for the BTech students. Now let us also briefly look at the other initiatives which have been announced under the Union Budget with regard to the education sector. Now the estimated budgetary expenditure on the health, education and social protection under the Union Budget has been kept at 1.3 lakh crore for 2018-19. So you can see the focus, how the government is increasingly giving focus to this particular sectors. And with regard to the education sector, the schemes which are announced or the initiatives which have been taken, they include Ek Lavya Model Residential Scheme, which has been announced for the tribal children, and this we have already seen in the previous slide. Revitalizing infrastructure and systems in education, this is the RISE scheme which has been announced. Next is the Prime Minister's Research Fellowship Scheme, and there is an integrated B.Ed program which has been announced for teachers. So Eklavya Model Residential Schools, we have just seen they are going to be set up on par with the Navodaya Vidalayas to provide best quality education to tribal children, and they are going to be set up by 2022 in every block with more than 50% population and at least 20,000 tribal persons. Now to step up the investments in the research and the related infra in the premier educational institutions, there is a scheme, there is a new initiative which has been introduced, which is the RISE initiative. This RISE means revitalizing infrastructure and systems in education. So the full form itself makes the scheme or the initiative clear that we have to revitalize the infrastructure with regard to the education sector, and for this purpose a total investment of rupees 1 lakh crore in the next 4 years has been announced in the Union Budget. And to promote the quality of teachers, an integrated B.Ed program for the teachers is going to be started. So now we can easily answer this question, that the Prime Minister Research Fellowship Scheme has been announced with the objective of providing handsome fellowship to select BTech students identified from premier institutions and provide them facilities to do PhD in IITs and IASC. So answer to this is going to be option number B. Now let's move to the next question. Under the Union Budget 2018-19, how much allocation has been made towards National Health Policy 2017? Options are 100 crores, 500 crores, 1200 crores, 2500 crores, or none of the above. So this question is about National Health Policy 2017, that is the allocation that has been made to this policy under the Union Budget 2018-19. The Union Budget 2018-19 lays adequate focus on the health sector, and it says that the government is steadily but surely progressing towards the goal of universal health coverage. Now with regard to the health sector, these are the initiatives under the Union Budget 2018-19. So you can take a glance at these initiatives because a question may be framed out of these. First of all, there has been an announcement of the world's largest government funded healthcare program, which is titled as the National Healthcare Protection Scheme. This scheme is going to cover 10 crore poor and vulnerable families, and is going to provide them coverage up to 5 lakh rupees per family per cover. This is very important, 5 lakh rupees per family per year, and this is for secondary and tertiary care hospitalization. So here the focus is on secondary and tertiary care hospitalization and not primary care hospitalization. So these are some of the aspects which we have to remember about this National Health Protection Scheme. Also, Finance Minister has committed rupees 1200 crores for the National Health Policy 2017, which with 1.5 lakh health and wellness centers will bring healthcare systems closer to the homes of people. So under the National Health Policy 2017, 1200 crores have been devoted in order to set up health and wellness centers so that they are relatively closer to the homes of people and the people can access basic health facilities. Also, it has been proposed to set up 24 new government medical colleges and hospitals by upgrading existing district hospitals in the country. Also, a health and education cess of 4% is going to be imposed on the income tax instead of earlier 3%, which was only for the education purpose, that is education cess. So this is another important aspect of Union Budget 2018-19. So now we can answer this question that an amount of rupees 1200 crores has been allocated towards National Health Policy 2017. So answer to this is going to be option number C. Now let's move to the next question. In the Union Budget 2018-19, Govardhan scheme has been launched with which of the following objectives? Options are promoting dairy farming among women entrepreneurs, management of cattle dung and solid waste, providing no-cost banking facilities to those engaged in cattle rearing, geotagging of cattle across the country for better management, or none of the above. So this question is about the Govardhan scheme, that is the galvanizing organic bio-agro resources done. So to answer this question, we must be aware about this Govardhan scheme. We must have basic idea about this scheme. So this scheme has been announced for management and conversion of cattle dung and solid waste in farms to compost, fertilizer, biogas and bio-CNG. So the focus of this scheme is proper management of the cattle dung and solid waste which is there in the farms, and to convert it into some useful form in order to be utilized in the farm itself or for other ancillary activities. And the other objective is to make our villages open defecation free, and it is aimed at improving the life of our villagers. So this we have to remember, that this scheme has been announced to convert the solid waste into useful form in the farm sector. So now we can easily answer this question that the Govardhan scheme has been announced for management of cattle dung and solid waste. So answer to this is going to be option number B. Now let's move to the next question. Under the Union Budget 2018-19, corporate tax for companies which reported a turnover up to rupees 250 crores in financial year 2016-17 has been reduced to, options are 28%, 25%, 22%, 20% or none of the above. Now this very important announcement has been made in the Union Budget, and it has been announced that the corporate tax for the companies which have a turnover up to 250 crores has been reduced, and we are being asked that this turnover is being reduced to how much percentage points. Now for answering this question, we must be aware about the initiatives which have been announced in the Union Budget 2018-19 for the MSME sector. So rupees 3,794 crores have been devoted towards MSME sector for the purpose of giving them credit support, capital and interest subsidy. Also, there is a target to lend rupees 3 lakh crores under the Mudra Yojana in 2018-19. So this is the scheme Mudra Yojana which is there for this MSME sector, and the target for this scheme has been kept at rupees 3 lakh crores. Corporate tax has been reduced to 25% for the companies which have reported a turnover up to rupees 250 crores in financial year 2016-17. An industrial friendly defense production policy has been proposed, and this policy has been proposed to promote domestic production by public sector, private sector as well as the MSME sector. A national apprenticeship scheme with a stipend support has been proposed to give training to 50 lakh youth by 2020. So this is again going to give a boost to the MSME sector because the trained youth are going to support the MSME sector. Also, it is proposed to set up aspirational skill sectors, model aspirational skill centers in every district of the country under the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Kendra scheme which is there. So aspirational skill centers are going to be set up. Also, the government has decided to contribute 12% of the wages as employees provident fund in all the sectors for the next 3 years, and the EPF contributions for the women employees has been brought down from 12% to 8% for the first 3 years. So with regard to contribution to provident fund, again some relaxations and some incentives have been announced by the union government. So this is the picture of the initiatives which have been announced in the union budget with regard to the MSME sector. So now using this information we can easily answer this question, that under the Union Budget 2018-19, corporate tax for the companies which have reported a turnover up to 250 crores in financial year 2016-17 has been reduced to 25%. So the option to this is going to be option number B. Now let us move to the next question. Under the Union Budget 2018-19, how many prominent tourist sites are proposed to be developed into iconic tourism destinations by following an integrated holistic approach? Options are 5, 10, 15, 20 or 25. Now to answer this question we must be aware about what the Union Budget 2018-19 has to say with regard to the infrastructure and the tourism sector. Now under the Union Budget, the budgetary allocation for the infrastructure for 2018-19 has been increased to rupees 5.97 lakh crores. So you can remember that it is around 6 lakh crores. Using online monitoring system of Pragati alone, projects worth 9.46 lakh crores have been facilitated and fast tracked. So this is about this monitoring system of Pragati which has been used efficiently, and it is going to be used so in the future to facilitate and fast track the infrastructure projects. It has been proposed to develop 10 prominent tourist sites into iconic tourism destinations, and for this purpose we are going to follow an integrated holistic approach which will involve infrastructure, skill development, technology development, attracting private investment, branding and marketing. So 10 prominent tourist sites are going to be developed into iconic tourism centers, iconic tourism destinations by following a holistic approach. Under the Bharatmala Pariyojana, this is the scheme for development of national highways and the construction of roads in the country. Under this scheme, about 35,000 kilometers road construction in phase 1 at an estimated cost of rupees 5,35,000 crores has been approved. So this scheme has been progressing at a rapid pace, and we are going to see tremendous improvements in the construction of roads across the country. And with regard to the rejuvenation of the aviation sector and the airports, this Nav Nirman initiative has been proposed, which is the next gen airports for Bharat Nirman initiative. Now this Nav Nirman initiative, it proposes to expand the airport capacity to more than 5 times to handle 1 billion trips a year. So this is the initiative which is going to focus on expanding the airport capacity in the country. And for this purpose, the balance sheet of Airport Authority of India is going to be leveraged to raise more resources for funding this expansion. So we are going to raise more resources, we are going to raise more loans and borrowings for funding this expansion. So now we can easily answer this question, that under the Union Budget 2018-19, 10 prominent tourist sites are proposed to be developed into iconic tourism destinations by following a holistic approach. So answer to this is going to be option number B. So now let's move to the next question. Which of the following is the correct disinvestment target for 2018-19 as announced in the Union Budget 2018-19? Options are 50,000 crores, 62,500 crores, rupees 80,000 crores, rupees 1 lakh crores, or none of the above. So to answer this question, we must be aware about what the Union Budget 2018-19 has to say with regard to the financial sector reforms across the Indian economy. So with regard to this, the budget says that the 2017-18 disinvestment target of rupees 72,500 crore has been exceeded, and this target has been kept at rupees 80,000 crores for 2018-19. So for 2017-18, the target of disinvestment was 72,500 crores, and for 2018-19, this target is 80,000 crores. Also, 3 public sector insurance companies, that is National Insurance Company, United Insurance Company, and Oriental India Insurance Company, are to be merged into a single insurance entity. Also, a comprehensive gold policy is to be formulated in order to develop gold as an asset class. And for this purpose, gold monetization scheme will be revamped in order to enable people so that they can open a hassle-free gold deposit account. So we have seen that a huge amount of gold is lying with the people, and this gold is lying without any utility or without any use, and it is proposed to convert this gold into a essential economic asset to push this gold into the financial cycle of the economy. And for this purpose, a gold policy and a revamped gold monetization scheme is in the lines. Also, the budget proposes to revise the emoluments to rupees 5 lakh for president, 4 lakh for vice president, and rupees 3.5 lakh per month to the governor. So now we can easily answer this question, that the disinvestment target for 2018-19 under the Union Budget 2018-19 has been fixed at rupees 80,000 crore. So answer to this is going to be option number C. Now let's move to the next question. Continuing the government's path of fiscal reduction and consolidation, the Finance Minister in Union Budget 2018-19 has proposed a fiscal deficit of dash of GDP for the year 2018-19. So in this question, we are being asked about the fiscal deficit target for 2018-19 as a percentage of GDP. Options are 3.1%, 3.3%, 3.5%, or 3.8%, or none of the above. So this is something which we must be aware about, the fiscal deficit target. Now with regard to the fiscal management, the Union Budget 2018-19 talks about the government's path of fiscal reduction and consolidation, and in this regard the Finance Minister has projected a fiscal deficit target of 3.3% of GDP for the year 2018-19. So this is the target for the year 2018-19, 3.3%, this we have to remember. And the revised fiscal deficit estimates for 2017-18, they were put at rupees 5.95 lakh crore, which is around 3.5% of GDP. So fiscal deficit estimates for 2017-18, they are around 3.5% of GDP. The Finance Minister has also proposed acceptance of key recommendations of Fiscal Reform and Budget Management Committee, which proposed to bring down the central government's debt to GDP ratio to 40%. So it is proposed to use the government's debt as a key fiscal policy indicator, and for this purpose recommendations of this committee has been accepted, and it is proposed to bring down the central government's debt to GDP ratio to 40%. So these are the important fiscal trends which have been taken out from the Union Budget 2018-19. So you can see with regard to the fiscal deficit, we are gradually progressing on a downward trend, and the target for 2018-19 is 3.3%. And similarly for revenue deficit, again we are progressing towards a lower target, and same for the effective revenue deficit and the primary deficit. And with regard to the trend in tax receipts, you can see that the gross tax receipts are gradually increasing. The direct tax levels are more or less at the constant levels. However, the indirect tax levels are catching up with the direct tax levels. So now we can easily answer this question, that the fiscal deficit target for the year 2018 and 19 has been projected at 3.3% of GDP. So answer to this is going to be option number B. So guys, this is all about our discussion on some of the very important MCQs based on the Union Budget 2018 and 19, which have very high probability of being asked in the upcoming RBI Grade B examination. Thank you guys. If you found this video useful, please like the same and share it with your friends. And for more similar videos, please subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Thank you.